Are you seriously staring at her right now? The words came out sharper than Penelope intended, but Gallagher didn't even flinch. His champagne glass trembled in his hand, his entire body gone rigid beside her. She followed his gaze across the Drake Hotel ballroom, past the glittering chandeliers, past Chicago's elite in their designer gowns and tailored tuxedos, to the woman who'd just walked in. The room had gone quiet, not silent, but muted, like someone had turned down the volume on their perfect night. The woman moved across the marble floor in a navy sequined gown that caught every light, every eye, every breath in the room. She didn't walk, she commanded. Cameras flashed as society reporters swarmed her like she was royalty returning from exile. Who was that? Penelope demanded, her nails digging into Gallagher's tuxedo sleeve. Her engagement ring, the one he'd chosen so carefully, the one that had represented their future, suddenly felt heavy on her finger. Gallagher's jaw had gone slack. His expression cycled through shock, longing, something that looked dangerously close to fear. When the woman's eyes found his across the sea of guests, her smile was knowing. Cold. A challenge. Gallagher. Penelope hissed, panic rising in her throat. You said she moved to London. She did, he whispered, but his voice cracked on the words. The woman was staring at her fiancé like he was unfinished business. And judging by the way Gallagher couldn't look away, couldn't breathe, couldn't even pretend everything was fine, Penelope realized with sinking dread that this wasn't a chance encounter. This was a declaration of war. Little did Penelope know, the woman in the navy gown hadn't come to reconnect. She'd come to destroy everything Gallagher had built, and Penelope's perfect life was just collateral damage. To understand how Penelope found herself at the center of a revenge plot 5 years in the making, we have to go back to 2 years earlier, to the night she first met the man who would become both her greatest love and her worst mistake. Before we get into that, here's a special shout out to Marcus Gallagher watching from Sydney, Australia. Thank you for being one of our amazing supporters and engaging with the channel. A character in the story was named in your honor. If you'd also like to get a shout out in the next video, please like, subscribe, and comment where you're watching from, and you'll be given a shout out. Thank you. Now let's get into the story. 2 years earlier, Penelope had walked into the tech networking event at 1871 in the Merchandise Mart, wearing her favorite navy blazer and zero expectations. She'd only come because her boss insisted someone from marketing attend, and she'd drawn the short straw. That's where she met Gallagher. He was standing near the floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the Chicago River, gesturing enthusiastically to a small group about some app he was developing. His passion was magnetic. The way his eyes lit up when he talked about solving problems, the confidence in his voice, the easy smile that made everyone around him lean in closer. You look like you'd rather be anywhere else, he'd said, appearing beside her at the coffee station. Penelope had laughed. That obvious? Only to someone who feels the same way. He'd extended his hand. Gallagher Mitchell. And before you ask, yes, my parents had questionable taste in names. That was it. That single moment of humor and self-awareness had hooked her completely. Their first date was dinner at Pequod's Pizza, sitting in a booth with caramelized cheese crust between them, talking until the staff started stacking chairs. Their second date was a weekend trip to Starved Rock, hiking trails and watching waterfalls while Gallagher talked about his vision for the future, not just his company, but their future, like he already knew she'd be part of it. I've never met anyone like you, he'd told her that weekend, his hand finding hers on the trail. You make me want to be better. Do better. Within 6 months, they were inseparable. Gallagher supported her marketing career with genuine enthusiasm, celebrating her wins like they were his own. She attended his pitch meetings, helped refine his presentations, believed in his startup when investors didn't. They were partners. A team. You're my good luck charm, he'd say, kissing her forehead after successful meetings. The proposal came during a private evening tour of the Lincoln Park Conservatory, surrounded by orchids and ferns, and the kind of romantic lighting that made everything feel like a dream. Gallagher had gotten down on one knee near the palm room, his voice shaking as he said, I can't imagine my life without you. Will you marry me? The ring was perfect, exactly what Penelope would have chosen herself, which made her wonder if he'd somehow hacked her Pinterest board. She'd said yes through happy tears, already planning their future in her mind. Moving into the Lincoln Park apartment together felt like the natural next step. They blended their furniture, their routines, their lives. Sunday mornings at the farmer's market. Thursday nights trying new restaurants in West Loop. Planning a wedding that would happen at the Rookery building, because Gallagher said he wanted to marry her somewhere as beautiful as she was. Everything was perfect, except for the small things Penelope told herself didn't matter. Like how vague Gallagher got whenever past relationships came up. Nothing serious before you, he'd say, changing the subject so smoothly she almost didn't notice. Or the moments when he'd zone out completely, staring at nothing with an expression she couldn't read. Just thinking about work, he'd claim when she asked. Or the photograph she'd found in his desk drawer while looking for stamps. A picture of a woman Penelope didn't recognize, stunning and confident, torn in half, but carefully kept. When she'd asked about it, Gallagher had gone pale. That's nobody. Just someone from college. I don't even know why I still have that. But he'd taken the photo from her hands with something that looked like pain flickering across his face. Then there was the night at RPM Italian, after Gallagher had finished his second, or was it third, glass of wine. They'd been talking about wedding guests when he went quiet, staring at his plate. There was someone, he'd said suddenly. Before you. Someone from my 20s. Penelope's fork had frozen halfway to her mouth. Okay, do you want to talk about it? Not really. He'd drained his wine glass. It was a mistake. The whole thing was it didn't end well. But it's over. Has been for years. Gallagher, can we drop it? Please. His voice had an edge she'd never heard before. I just want to focus on us. On our future. The past doesn't matter. She'd let it go. Because everything else was so good, and everyone had baggage. And why ruin a perfect evening over some ex-girlfriend from his 20s? Have you ever ignored red flags in a relationship because everything else seemed perfect? What warning signs did you miss? Share your experience in the comments. Because looking back, Penelope would realize she'd dismissed dozens of them. 3 months before the gala, things shifted. Gallagher became obsessed with his phone. He'd check it constantly, his expression tightening with each notification. At dinner, during movies, even during conversations, his attention was elsewhere. Is everything okay? Penelope asked one night, watching him scroll through messages with unusual intensity. Fine. Just work stress. The Series B funding is in the final stages and investors are demanding. Can I help with anything? No. Too quick, too sharp. Then softer. I mean, no thank you. I've got it handled. Just a lot of pressure right now. But pressure didn't explain why he'd started keeping his phone face down. Or why he'd changed his passcode, something he'd never bothered with before. Or why he'd wake up at 3 a.m. to check messages, the blue light illuminating his face in the darkness. Gallagher, seriously. What's going on? Nothing, he'd insist. I promise. After the funding closes, and we do the gala, everything will calm down. Just trust me. So she did. Because she loved him. Because their wedding was 5 months away. Because she'd built her entire future around this man. She trusted him right up until the moment that woman in the navy gown walked into the Drake Hotel ballroom, and Gallagher's face told Penelope everything she'd been too afraid to see. The past he'd claimed didn't matter. It had just walked back into their lives. And it was about to tear everything apart. The champagne cork popped at Gibson's Steakhouse, and Gallagher's entire team erupted in cheers. Series B funding, $12 million. Investors believed in his vision. Chicago's tech scene was buzzing about the brilliant young entrepreneur who'd just secured one of the biggest rounds of the quarter. To Gallagher Mitchell, his CFO announced, raising a glass. And to the future of Connect Tech. Penelope clinked glasses with the celebration crowd, pride swelling in her chest. This was it. Everything they'd worked for. The validation, the success, the future they dreamed about during those late nights at Pequod's Pizza 2 years ago. But when she looked at Gallagher across the table, his smile seemed tight. Forced. The press coverage came next. Crane's Chicago business featured him in their Entrepreneurs to Watch section. TechCrunch published a profile. His LinkedIn blew up with connection requests and congratulatory messages. You did it, Penelope told him that night in their apartment, wrapping her arms around him from behind as he stared at his laptop. Yeah, he said distantly. I guess I did. Meanwhile, wedding planning kicked into overdrive. The Rookery building was officially booked for their ceremony, a stunning historic venue with a glass atrium that would make their photos look like something from a magazine. Penelope spent her lunch breaks at Bella Bianca Bridal, trying on dresses with her mother and sister, debating between classic elegance and modern sophistication. This one, her mother said when Penelope emerged in an off-the-shoulder gown with delicate lace details. Gallagher won't be able to breathe when he sees you. Penelope had smiled at her reflection, imagining that moment. But lately, she'd been wondering if Gallagher was really present enough to notice. The phone obsession had gotten worse. He checked it constantly, during dinner, during conversations, even during the intimate moments that used to belong just to them. His expression would darken with each notification, jaw tightening like he was bracing for impact. Who keeps messaging you? Penelope finally asked one evening. Investors. Board members. It's constant now that the funding's closed. He'd turned the phone face down. Again, nothing important. But the way he said it made Penelope's stomach twist. She'd woken up at 3 a.m. one night to find his side of the bed empty. Following the blue glow to the living room, she'd found Gallagher sitting on the couch, laptop open, staring at what looked like old photographs. Gallagher? What are you doing? He'd slammed the laptop shut so fast it made her jump. Nothing. Couldn't sleep. Work stuff. At 3 in the morning? Looking at photos? I said it's nothing, Penelope. His tone was ice. Can you just give me some space? She'd retreated to the bedroom, hurt and confused, listening to him move around the apartment for another hour before finally coming back to bed. The argument came 2 weeks later, after Gallagher missed their cake-tasting appointment, the third wedding-related event he'd bailed on in a month. You said you'd be there, Penelope said when he finally came home at 10 p.m., smelling like whiskey and offering no explanation. I got held up at the office. We're dealing with some complications. You couldn't text? Call? Anything. I forgot, okay? He threw his keys on the counter. I'm sorry. There's a lot going on right now. There's always a lot going on, Gallagher. But we're getting married in 4 months. This wedding is happening whether your company is perfect or not. Don't you think I know that? His voice rose. Don't you think I'm aware of all the pressure? The wedding, the company, everyone expecting me to have my life together? I'm not pressuring you. You're constantly asking where I am, who I'm talking to, what I'm doing. It's suffocating, Penelope. I need you to back off. The word controlling hung in the air unspoken, but she heard it anyway. They'd gone to bed angry that night, the silence between them louder than any argument. Gallagher's mother visited from Michigan the following weekend, and Penelope had hoped her presence would ease the tension. Margaret Mitchell was a warm, practical woman who'd raised Gallagher as a single mother and loved Penelope like a daughter. But something was off. They were having coffee at Intelligentsia when Margaret reached across the table, gripping Penelope's hand with unexpected intensity. Promise me something, she said quietly, glancing toward the bathroom where Gallagher had excused himself moments earlier. Of course. What is it? Just promise me you won't let that woman near my son again. Penelope's heart stuttered. What woman? Margaret's expression darkened. If she ever comes back, and God, I pray she doesn't, you protect him. You hear me? He barely survived her the first time. Mrs. Mitchell, I don't. Mom, ready to go? Gallagher appeared, his smile brittle. Penelope, you coming? Margaret released her hand, the moment broken. But the warning lingered, poisonous and vague, for days afterward. The Drake Hotel Gala invitation arrived in early September, printed on heavy cream cardstock with gold embossing. It was a celebration of Chicago's tech industry leaders, and Gallagher was being honored as one of the year's most promising entrepreneurs. Their photo would be taken, their names in the program, their success on display. This is huge, Penelope said, reading the invitation. Your big moment. Our big moment, Gallagher corrected, but his voice lacked conviction. If you're enjoying this story and want to see how Penelope's world completely falls apart, subscribe now. Most of you watching haven't subscribed yet, and it's completely free. Help us reach 100K subscribers by hitting that button. It takes 2 seconds and means everything to small creators like us trying to bring you powerful stories. Because what happens at that gala is about to change everything. The morning of the event, Penelope woke up early to find Gallagher standing at their apartment window, still in his pajamas, staring out at Lincoln Park with an expression she couldn't read. Lost. Almost haunted. Hey, she said softly, approaching him. You okay? He didn't turn. For a long moment, he said nothing. Then, what if everything falls apart? What do you mean? Your company is thriving. We're getting married. Everything's perfect. Yeah. He finally looked at her, and something in his eyes made her chest tighten. Fear. Regret. Something she couldn't name. Everything's perfect. Gallagher, seriously. What's wrong? He forced a smile. That same tight, fake expression she'd been seeing for months. Nothing. Tonight's going to be perfect. But standing there in the morning light, watching her fiancé lie to her face, Penelope felt the ground shift beneath her feet. She just didn't know yet how far she was about to fall. Penelope had replayed that moment 1,000 times since it happened. Nefertiti's entrance, the way the entire Drake Hotel ballroom seemed to hold its breath. But living through it the first time was something else entirely. The woman moved like she owned the space, her navy sequined gown catching every light as cameras flashed around her. Society reporters swarmed immediately, their voices carrying across the ballroom. Nefertiti Ashford, welcome back to Chicago. Tell us about your London gallery success. Is it true you're opening a location in the West Loop? Penelope watched Gallagher's champagne glass tremble in his hand. His jaw had gone completely slack, his entire body rigid like he'd been struck by lightning. Gallagher, she hissed, her nails digging deeper into his sleeve. Who was that? But he couldn't answer, couldn't breathe, couldn't look away. A photographer positioned Nefertiti near the grand staircase, and she posed with effortless grace, her smile confident and knowing. She glanced across the room once, just once, and her eyes locked directly onto Gallagher's. The smile that crossed her face made Penelope's blood run cold. She's coming over here, Penelope whispered, panic rising in her throat. Gallagher Mitchell. Nefertiti's voice was honey and smoke as she approached their table, ignoring everyone else seated there. It's been a long time. Gallagher stood so abruptly his chair scraped against the floor. Nefertiti. I didn't know you were back in Chicago. Surprise. Her smile never wavered. I've been back for a few weeks now, setting up the new gallery location. Surely you heard. No. I know. Penelope stood as well, forcing herself into the conversation. I'm Penelope, Gallagher's fiancé. Nefertiti's gaze finally shifted to her, and Penelope felt evaluated and dismissed in a single glance. How lovely. Congratulations. The word felt like a knife wrapped in silk. This is Nefertiti Ashford, Gallagher stammered, his hands shaking as he gestured between them. She's an art curator. From London. From here originally, Nefertiti corrected smoothly. Though London treated me well. But you know what they say, there's no place like home. She turned back to Gallagher. You look good. Success suits you. I've been following your company's progress. Very impressive. Thank you. Your gallery, that's great. Really great. Penelope wanted to scream. Her articulate, confident fiancé had been reduced to stammering repetitions, and this woman, this stranger who clearly wasn't a stranger, was enjoying every second of his discomfort. Remember that jazz bar in Barcelona? Nefertiti said casually, accepting a champagne flute from a passing waiter. The one with the pianist who only played Miles Davis? I was in the city last month and walked past it. Made me think of you. Gallagher's face went pale. That was, long time ago. Not that long. Her smile was intimate, exclusive. I still think about our Paris trip sometimes. That little cafe near the Musée d'Orsay where we spent an entire afternoon just talking. Penelope felt like she'd been slapped. Paris? Barcelona? How long had they been together? And why had Gallagher described her as just someone from college? Excuse me. Penelope managed, her voice tight. I need to use the restroom. She fled before anyone could respond, navigating through the crowd on shaking legs. The bathroom was a sanctuary of marble and soft lighting, and she gripped the counter, trying to steady her breathing. Two women entered, their voices carrying across the space. Did you see who just walked in? Nefertiti Ashford. Oh my God, I know. I can't believe she's back. Do you think Gallagher knew? Are you kidding? Did you see his face? He looked like he'd seen a ghost. Well, can you blame him? Everyone knows how he never got over her. When she left for London, he was devastated. Took him years to recover. Penelope stood frozen in the stall, listening. I heard she broke his heart into a million pieces. And now she just waltzes back like nothing happened. Poor fiancé. What's her name? Penelope? She's got no idea what she's up against. Nefertiti destroyed him when she left. That kind of connection doesn't just disappear. Their voices faded as they left, and Penelope emerged from the stall with tears burning behind her eyes. She reapplied her lipstick with shaking hands, trying to compose herself. When she returned to the ballroom, Gallagher wasn't at their table. She searched the crowd, her heart pounding, until she spotted him through the terrace doors. He was outside, standing too close to Nefertiti, their heads bent together in conversation. Even from a distance, Penelope could see the intimacy in their body language. The way he leaned toward her, the way she touched his arm, the way they stood like the rest of the world had disappeared. Penelope pushed through the terrace doors, the cool October air hitting her face. Gallagher. He jumped, stepping back from Nefertiti with guilt written all over his face. Penelope. We were just catching up, Nefertiti finished smoothly. It's been 5 years. Lots to discuss. We should go, Penelope said, her voice ice. Now. The drive home was suffocating silence. Penelope stared out the window at Chicago's skyline, her engagement ring feeling like a shackle on her finger. Gallagher gripped the steering wheel, so tight his knuckles went white. They'd been in their Lincoln Park apartment for exactly 30 seconds before Penelope exploded. Who is she? I told you. An ex-girlfriend from. Don't you dare say from college again. Penelope whirled on him. Barcelona? Paris? 3 years together? That's not some casual college relationship, Gallagher. That's a whole life I knew nothing about. It was a long time ago. You told me there was nobody serious before me. You said your past didn't matter. It doesn't. Then why did you look at her like that? Penelope's voice cracked. Why did you stare at her like she was the only person in that entire ballroom? Like I didn't exist? Gallagher sank onto the couch, his head in his hands. I didn't expect to see her. I didn't know she was back. It just caught me off guard. You disappeared for 20 minutes. 20 minutes, Gallagher. I found you on that terrace looking at her the way you're supposed to look at me. I'm sorry. That's not an answer. Penelope crossed her arms. I want the truth. All of it. Who is Nefertiti Ashford, and what did she mean to you? What would you do in Penelope's position? Demand answers immediately or investigate on your own first? Drop your strategy in the comments. Because what Gallagher was about to reveal was only half the truth, and the lies he kept telling would end up destroying everything they'd built. She was. Gallagher's voice was barely above a whisper. She was the love of my life. And just like that, Penelope's world tilted on its axis. She was the love of my life. The words hung in the air like a death sentence. Penelope felt her legs go weak, gripping the back of the armchair to stay upright. What? Before you. Gallagher added quickly, looking up with desperate eyes. I mean before you, Penelope. You're the love of my life now. Nefertiti was just. Don't. Penelope's voice shook. Don't you dare try to minimize this after what you just said. Gallagher stood, reaching for her, but she stepped back. Let me explain. Yes, explain. Because I deserve to know why the woman who was supposedly nobody and just a mistake from your 20s is actually the love of your fucking life. He flinched at the profanity. Penelope never cursed. We dated for 3 years, Gallagher said quietly, sinking back onto the couch. Met when I was 26. It was intense, like nothing I'd experienced before. We traveled together, built lives together, talked about forever. Forever. Penelope repeated hollowly. But then something happened. A tragedy. I can't. I don't want to get into the details, but it was bad. Really bad. And I didn't handle it well. His voice cracked. I wasn't there for her the way I should have been. I was young and stupid and focused on work, and she needed me. And I failed her. What happened? I can't talk about it. It's not my story to tell. Gallagher rubbed his face. She left for London right after. Didn't give me a chance to make it right. Just disappeared. Changed her number, blocked me on everything. I spent 2 years trying to find her, to apologize, but she was gone. Penelope felt tears burning behind her eyes. And you never thought to mention this? That there was someone you spent 3 years with? Someone you chased for 2 years after? It was over. Ancient history. By the time I met you, I'd finally moved on. Had you? Penelope's voice rose. Because the way you looked at her tonight didn't look like moved on, Gallagher. It looked like you were seeing the only thing you ever wanted walk back into your life. That's not fair. None of this is fair. She was shouting now, months of dismissed red flags and vague answers, and gut feelings erupting. You lied to me. For 2 years. You lied about who you were before me. I didn't lie. I just didn't think it mattered. Well, it matters now. Gallagher tried to argue more, but Penelope retreated to their bedroom, locking the door, and pulling out her phone with shaking hands. A simple search, Nefertiti Ashford London Gallery. The results were immediate and devastating. Nefertiti's Instagram was public, polished, perfect. Photos of art openings at her Mayfair gallery, stunning images from Paris Fashion Week, candid shots in Milan and Barcelona. She looked successful, confident, healed. The kind of woman who'd built an empire from scratch and made it look effortless. Recent posts showed Chicago landmarks. The Bean, Navy Pier, the Riverwalk at sunset. Excited for this new chapter, read a caption from 3 weeks ago beneath a photo of her standing in front of an empty West Loop storefront. Coming home was always the plan. Hashtag Chicago Gallery, hashtag New Beginnings. 3 weeks. She'd been back for 3 weeks, and Gallagher hadn't mentioned it. Had he known? The thought made Penelope sick. She scrolled further back, finding older photos, glimpses of Nefertiti's London life, her incredible career, her transformation from heartbroken girl to powerhouse curator. There were no photos of Gallagher, no evidence of their shared past. She'd erased him completely while building something extraordinary. Penelope looked at her own Instagram, mostly couple photos with Gallagher, marketing campaigns she'd worked on, brunch with friends. Suddenly, her life looked small, predictable, safe. She didn't sleep. While Gallagher tossed and turned on the couch, Penelope stared at the ceiling, replaying the gala over and over. The way he'd gone rigid, the way his hands shook, the intimacy of those references to Barcelona and Paris, the 20 minutes on the terrace. He'd never looked at her like that, not even when he proposed. Morning light filtered through the curtains around 6 a.m., and Penelope heard Gallagher moving around the apartment. She stayed in bed, pretending to sleep, until she heard the shower running. His phone was on the nightstand, charging, unlocked, because he'd been too distracted last night to remember to secure it. Penelope's hand moved before her conscience could stop her. One new message from an unknown number, time-stamped 2:47 a.m. It was good to see you last night. We should talk properly. You know where to find me. The blood drained from Penelope's face. She screenshotted the message just as the bathroom door opened. Morning, Gallagher said carefully, towel around his waist, reading her expression. Did you sleep? No. Penelope held up his phone. Want to explain this? He crossed the room, reading the screen, and his face went pale. I don't. How did she get my number? You tell me. I didn't give it to her, Penelope. I swear. Maybe she got it from the gala registration, or... Are you going to respond? No. Absolutely not. He took the phone from her hands. I'll block the number right now. But his thumb hovered over the screen, not moving. Penelope watched the internal war play across his face. The temptation, the conflict, the pull of something he couldn't quite let go. Gallagher. I'm blocking her. See, he showed her the screen, but the damage was done. That hesitation told Penelope everything she needed to know. Promise me, she said quietly. Promise me you won't contact her. That you'll ignore her if she tries again. That this is really over. I promise. He pulled her into his arms, and she let him, even though his embrace felt different now. You're the one I love. You're the one I'm marrying. Nefertiti is my past. You're my future. Should Penelope trust Gallagher's promise to ignore Nefertiti, or does his reaction at the gala prove he's not over her? What does your gut tell you? Comment below. Because promises, as Penelope was about to discover, meant nothing when the past came calling. Over the next week, Penelope became someone she didn't recognize. Hypervigilant. Suspicious. She checked Gallagher's phone when he showered, searched his laptop when he worked late, monitored his location through Find My Friends. No more suspicious texts appeared. No phone calls. Gallagher seemed to be keeping his promise. But on Thursday morning, running errands before work, Penelope stopped at the Starbucks on Wells Street, the one near Gallagher's office, 2 blocks from his building. And there she was. Nefertiti sat at a corner table with a laptop and a latte, looking effortlessly elegant in a cream cashmere sweater. She glanced up when Penelope entered, and her smile was knowing. Deliberately positioned. Waiting. This wasn't coincidence. This was strategy. And as Penelope's hands started shaking, she realized Gallagher's promise didn't matter. Because Nefertiti wasn't going anywhere. She'd positioned herself in Gallagher's orbit like a satellite he couldn't escape, and the question wasn't if he'd break his promise. It was when. Penelope stood frozen in the Starbucks doorway, watching Nefertiti's deliberate smile. The woman didn't look away, didn't pretend she hadn't seen her. just held Penelope's gaze with calm confidence, like she'd been expecting her. Penelope turned and left without ordering coffee. Friday morning, same Starbucks, same corner table. Nefertiti in a different designer outfit, same knowing expression. Saturday morning, because apparently even weekends weren't safe, there she was again. This time she waved. This is insane, Penelope muttered to herself, abandoning her coffee routine entirely. But the damage was done. Gallagher worked 2 blocks away. There was no way he hadn't noticed her. No way those encounters were as coincidental as he claimed. Sunday morning, Penelope went for her usual jog through Lincoln Park, trying to clear her head with the rhythm of her feet against the path. The October air was crisp, the leaves turning gold and red. Tourists taking photos near the conservatory. She rounded the pond and stopped dead. Nefertiti was stretching near a bench, one leg extended in a perfect yoga pose, wearing athletic wear that looked more like a fashion shoot than actual exercise gear. She looked up as Penelope approached, her smile radiant. Small world, Nefertiti said lightly. Is it? Penelope's voice was ice. Lincoln Park is beautiful this time of year. I forgot how much I missed it during my London years. She switched legs, perfectly balanced. You jog here often? Yes. Do you? Just started again. Trying to reacquaint myself with the old neighborhood. Nefertiti's smile never wavered. I lived near here before I left. Right on Fullerton Avenue. So many memories. The implication was clear. She'd lived here with Gallagher. This was their neighborhood before it became Penelope's. Excuse me. Penelope managed, jogging past with her heart hammering. See you around, Nefertiti called after her. The gallery opening that Tuesday was supposed to be a major networking opportunity. Marcus Chun was Gallagher's biggest client. His tech company used Connect Tech as platform for everything, and he'd invited them to the launch of his contemporary art collection at a new West Loop space. This is important, Gallagher had said that morning. Chen's renewal is up in 2 months. We need to make a good impression. What he didn't mention was who was curating the exhibition. Penelope recognized Nefertiti's signature style the moment they entered. Bold contemporary pieces with classical influences, the kind of curatorial vision that had made her London gallery famous. The promotional materials confirmed it, featuring works curated by Nefertiti Ashford, recently returned to Chicago from her acclaimed Mayfair gallery. Did you know? Penelope hissed to Gallagher. Know what? That she's the curator. His face went pale. No, I had no idea. But 20 minutes later, when Nefertiti took the microphone to discuss her vision for the collection, Gallagher stood transfixed. She commanded the room effortlessly, her knowledge and passion evident in every word. Even Penelope had to admit she was brilliant. The intersection of classical technique and modern perspective creates a dialogue across time. Nefertiti explained, gesturing to a large canvas. We're not abandoning history, we're building on it. Gallagher watched her like she was performing specifically for him. After the presentation, Nefertiti navigated the crowd and somehow, always somehow, ended up near their group. Marcus Chin introduced her to his team, and she played the gracious curator, charming everyone. Gallagher Mitchell, she said when their eyes met, her tone warmly professional. Marcus mentioned you'd be here. Your company does excellent work. Thank you. The exhibition is stunning. Remember that night in Santorini? Nefertiti said it casually, like remarking on the weather. That little gallery near the caldera where we talked about how art and technology could intersect? I think about that conversation sometimes when I'm curating tech collections. Gallagher's hand tightened around his wine glass. Yeah, I remember. She laughed at something he said, some inside joke Penelope couldn't understand, and the intimacy in that shared humor was worse than any text message. Penelope excused herself to the bathroom and cried silently in a stall. The package arrived at Gallagher's office Wednesday afternoon. Penelope was there dropping off lunch when his assistant brought it in, a small box wrapped in expensive paper. No return address, the assistant noted. Should I open it? I've got it, Gallagher said quickly, taking the box. What is it? Penelope asked. Probably just a client gift, or he opened it and froze. Inside was a watch. Elegant, expensive, clearly vintage. And a handwritten note on cream cardstock. Found this in my things. Thought you'd want it back. N. Penelope watched Gallagher's hands shake as he lifted the watch. I thought this was lost. Lost or you threw it away? Penelope asked quietly. Lost. I looked everywhere for it years ago. His voice cracked. Nefertiti gave it to me for my 20th birthday. I wore it every day until she left, then couldn't find it. Assumed it got misplaced during the move after the breakup. She had it this whole time? I guess so. Penelope watched him turn the watch over in his hands, saw the nostalgia and longing written across his face. He wasn't looking at a lost object. He was looking at a lost life. Are you going to keep it? She asked. I don't know. Maybe. It's a good watch. Expensive. But even as he said it, he was fastening it onto his wrist, checking how it fit. Gallagher. What? He looked up, defensive. It's just a watch, Penelope. But they both knew it wasn't. That night, Gallagher's phone buzzed at 11:47 p.m. Then again at 11:52. Then 12:03. Who's texting you? Penelope asked, though her stomach already knew. Nobody. Spam probably. He grabbed his phone, but not before Penelope saw the preview. Still listening to Kind of Blue. Let me see. It's nothing. Gallagher, let me see your phone. He hesitated too long, and that hesitation was its own answer. When he finally showed her, there were 3 messages from an unknown number, not the same one from before. She'd gotten a new number. Still listening to Kind of Blue. Remember how we played it on repeat? That cafe in Lisbon. The one with the terrible wine but perfect sunset. You always said we had the best conversations after midnight. Miles Davis. Their song. Their memories. Their midnight conversations. Block her, Penelope said. I will. I am. But his thumb hovered over the screen again, and Penelope saw the war in his eyes. We're sharing stories that matter. Real situations that test relationships and expose human nature. If this story is hitting home, subscribe and turn on notifications. Only 8% of our viewers are subscribed, but you're the ones who make it possible for us to keep creating content that resonates. Don't be part of the silent majority. Join our community, because what happens next is going to test everything Penelope thought she knew about the man she planned to marry. This has to stop, Penelope said, but her voice was hollow. You have to tell her to stop. I know. So do it. Gallagher stared at his phone. At the messages that referenced a life Penelope would never be part of. At the ghost that refused to stay buried. I will, he said. But as they lay in bed that night, Penelope heard his phone buzz twice more. And she knew Nefertiti wasn't going anywhere. The first voicemail arrived on Friday. No words, just music. A Miles Davis saxophone solo, haunting and familiar, playing for exactly 37 seconds before cutting off. Penelope watched Gallagher's face when he listened to it. Watched him close his eyes, his expression shifting into something she'd never seen before. Pain. Longing. Memory. What is that? She asked, though part of her didn't want to know. Nothing. Wrong number probably. Gallagher. It's just a song, Penelope. Can you please stop interrogating me about every single thing? But it wasn't just a song. It was their song. The one Nefertiti had referenced in her texts. And over the next week, 5 more voicemails came. Each one a different Miles Davis track. Each one wordless. Each one clearly designed to pull Gallagher back into memories Penelope couldn't access. Their arguments escalated from tense to vicious. You're obsessed, Gallagher snapped after she asked about his whereabouts for the 3rd time that day. You track my location, read my messages, question every phone call. This is controlling behavior, Penelope. Controlling? You've been lying to me for weeks. That woman is everywhere, and you act like I'm crazy for noticing. Maybe you are crazy. Maybe you're so insecure about your own inadequacies that you're inventing problems. Inadequacies? Penelope's voice broke. I'm inadequate because I'm not her. Because I don't have her history with you? Because I wasn't there for those precious trips to Barcelona and Paris and Santorini? That's not what I meant. Then what did you mean, Gallagher? Tell me. Tell me how I'm supposed to compete with a ghost who apparently still owns your heart. He didn't have an answer. He never did. The wedding became a weapon in their fights. Maybe we should postpone, Penelope said one night, exhausted from another circular argument. Fine. Maybe we should. You'd actually consider postponing our wedding? You're the one who suggested it. I wanted you to fight for us. To say no, we're getting married because I love you and nothing else matters. But you just agreed, Gallagher. You just fucking agreed. The silence that followed was deafening. Penelope found the hotel matches by accident, doing laundry. A book of matches from the Roby, a boutique hotel in Wicker Park with a rooftop bar that offered stunning city views. When were you at the Roby? She asked casually that evening. Gallagher's face went pale. What? I don't, maybe a client meeting? At a hotel bar? I don't remember, Penelope. I meet clients all over the city. But the way he wouldn't meet her eyes told her everything. The next morning, Penelope hired a private investigator. She felt sick doing it, like she'd crossed a line she could never uncross. But trust was a luxury she could no longer afford. I need to know if my fiancé is seeing someone else, she told the investigator, a woman named Sarah Chun who specialized in infidelity cases. Do you have a name? Description? Nefertiti Ashford. She's an art curator. You can find her online easily. Sarah's eyebrows raised slightly. The gallery owner who just opened in West Loop? I've seen her in the papers. That's her. The first report came 3 days later. Penelope opened the email in her office, her hands shaking. Photos. Timestamped. Dated. Devastating. Gallagher and Nefertiti at the Roby's rooftop bar, Tuesday evening, 7:43 p.m. Their table tucked in a corner, away from crowds. His body leaned toward hers, elbows on the table, completely engaged. Her hand on his arm, both of them laughing at something. Another photo from Thursday. Different location, a quiet wine bar in Lincoln Park. Same intimate body language. Same comfortable familiarity. Saturday afternoon. The Art Institute steps. Nefertiti showing him something on her phone, their heads bent together. The investigator's notes were clinical. Subject has met with Ms. Ashford 6 times in the past 2 weeks. Meetings range from 45 minutes to 2 hours. Body language suggests emotional intimacy. No evidence of physical contact beyond hand touching and shoulder touches. Subject appears conflicted, frequently checks phone, looks around as if concerned about being seen. Penelope printed the photos and waited for Gallagher to come home. He walked in at 8:47 p.m., claiming he'd been at the office. Really? Penelope laid the photos on their dining table like evidence at a trial. Because these tell a different story. Gallagher's face crumbled. Penelope. 6 times. You've met her 6 times in 2 weeks, and you didn't tell me once. I was trying to get closure. Closure? Penelope laughed bitterly. You need 6 meetings for closure? How much more closure do you need, Gallagher? It's complicated. Then uncomplicate it for me. He sank into a chair, his head in his hands. I don't know how. I've been meeting her because she wanted to explain what happened 5 years ago. Why she left. What I did wrong. And every time I see her, it brings back everything I felt. Everything I tried to bury. His voice broke. I thought I was over her. I thought I'd moved on. I spent 2 years in therapy, Penelope. 2 years learning how to function after she destroyed me. And then I met you, and you were everything I needed. Safe. Stable. Good. Safe. The word hit like a slap. You proposed to me because I was safe? That's not. I meant you were good for me. You helped me heal. So I'm what? Your emotional support fiancé? The placeholder while you pine for someone else? No. But seeing her again. Gallagher looked up, tears in his eyes. I don't know what I feel anymore. I thought it was over. I thought I'd closed that chapter. But when she walks into a room, it's like the past 5 years disappear and I'm right back there, feeling everything I tried so hard to forget. Is emotional infidelity just as bad as physical cheating? Where do you draw the line? Let us know your take in the comments. Because what Penelope was experiencing wasn't just betrayal. It was the realization that she'd been competing with a memory she could never defeat. Do you love me? Penelope asked quietly. Yes. Of course. Do you love her? The pause before his answer destroyed her. I don't know. Penelope walked to their bedroom, packed a bag with shaking hands, and left. She spent the night at her sister's apartment, crying into a pillow while her phone buzzed with Gallagher's apologetic texts. Sarah Chin's second report arrived the next morning. You need to see this, the email subject read. Penelope opened the attachments with dread, expecting more photos of intimate meetings. What she found was worse. Email trails. Financial records. A paper trail showing Nefertiti had hired a corporate investigator 6 months ago to examine Connect Tech's financial practices. Documentation showing she'd been corresponding with a consultant about document preparation and strategic timing for maximum impact. Bank records showing payments to a PR firm specializing in reputation management or destruction. Sarah's notes were clear. This isn't about reconciliation. Ms. Ashford has been planning something bigger. The meetings with your fiancé appear designed to destabilize him emotionally, while she prepares some kind of public action against his company. Whatever her endgame is, it's not love. Penelope stared at the evidence, her mind reeling. Nefertiti wasn't trying to win Gallagher back. She was trying to destroy him. And Penelope had to decide whether to warn the man who'd just admitted he didn't know if he loved her, or let revenge take its course. Sarah Chun called at 9 a.m. with an update that changed everything. "I've been digging deeper into Ms. Ashford's timeline," the investigator said. "This isn't spontaneous, Penelope. She's been planning this return for at least 18 months. Maybe longer." "What do you mean?" "She started following Gallagher's company progress 2 years ago through industry publications and LinkedIn. When his Series B funding was announced, she accelerated her Chicago gallery plans. The timing of her return, 3 months before your wedding, right as his company hits peak visibility, that's calculated." Penelope's stomach turned. She's been watching him this whole time, monitoring, tracking, waiting for the perfect moment to re-enter his life when he had the most to lose. Sarah paused. Whatever happened between them 5 years ago, she hasn't let it go. This is revenge, Penelope. Sophisticated, patient revenge. After hanging up, Penelope drove to their Lincoln Park apartment. Gallagher was there, looking like he hadn't slept. The investigators' photos were still on the dining table. "We need to talk," Penelope said. "And I need the full truth this time. No edited versions. No protecting her privacy. What happened 5 years ago?" Gallagher's resistance finally crumbled. She was pregnant. The room tilted. "What? We were together 3 years. We'd talked about marriage. She got pregnant, and we were terrified but also excited. It felt like the right next step." His voice cracked. "But then she lost it. At 12 weeks. She called me from the hospital, and I was in the middle of a pitch meeting with investors who were about to fund my first startup. The meeting I'd been working toward for months. And Penelope already knew the answer would be terrible. And I told her I'd come as soon as I finished. That I just needed 2 more hours." Tears streamed down his face. "But the meeting ran long. Then the investors wanted dinner. By the time I got to the hospital, she'd already been discharged. She'd gone through the worst experience of her life completely alone because I chose work over her." Penelope felt sick. "What did you do?" "I tried to apologize. Sent flowers to her apartment. Tried to explain that I didn't know it would take so long, that I thought I had time. But she wouldn't see me. Wouldn't answer my calls." "So you sent her a text message," Penelope said quietly, remembering his earlier admission. "You broke up with her over text while she was grieving?" I thought I was giving her space. I thought she needed time away from me because I'd failed her so completely." Gallagher's voice was hollow. "The text said I understood if she couldn't forgive me, that maybe it was better if we ended things so she could heal without being reminded of what I'd done. I sent it with a flower delivery the next day." "You abandoned her twice," Penelope said. "Once when she needed you most, and again when you decided her grief was too inconvenient to deal with." "I was 28. I didn't know how to." "Don't." Penelope held up her hand. "Don't make excuses. You were old enough to know better. You just chose your career over her pain." She grabbed her jacket, unable to stay in that apartment another second. "Where are you going?" "To talk to her." Penelope found Nefertiti at a Peninsula Hotel charity luncheon, another event where Chicago's elite gathered to network and donate. She was easy to spot in a white silk dress, holding court with museum benefactors. Penelope waited until she was alone, then approached with her heart hammering. "We need to talk." Nefertiti turned, unsurprised. "Penelope, I wondered when you'd come find me. Let's go somewhere private." They ended up in the hotel's library lounge, surrounded by leather furniture and floor-to-ceiling bookshelves. Penelope expected to feel anger, jealousy, the urge to fight for her relationship. Instead, she just felt exhausted. "Why are you doing this?" Penelope asked. "If you wanted him back, there are easier ways." "I don't want him back." Nefertiti's voice was calm, almost gentle. "I want him to suffer the way I suffered. I want him to watch everything he loves fall apart while feeling completely powerless to stop it." "That's revenge?" "Yes, absolutely." Nefertiti leaned forward. 5 years ago, Gallagher abandoned me during the worst moment of my life. Then he sent flowers and a coward's text message to absolve himself of guilt. While I was drowning, he moved on, built his company, became successful, found you. So you spent 5 years planning this, tracking him, timing your return. I spent 5 years rebuilding myself. The planning came later, after I realized he'd never face consequences for what he did. He got to be the victim. Poor Gallagher, whose girlfriend left him, while I was the villain who abandoned him. Her smile was cold. I'm just correcting the narrative. By destroying his company? By exposing the truth. Nefertiti pulled out her phone, showing Penelope documents. I hired investigators 6 months ago. Found evidence that Gallagher has been taking financial risks his board doesn't know about, misrepresenting projections to investors, hiding problems to maintain his golden boy image. I didn't fabricate anything, Penelope. I just helped the truth surface. You're going public with this. Already did. The Wall Street Journal publishes this morning. As if on cue, Penelope's phone buzzed. A news alert. Connect Tech founder faces investigation over financial irregularities. Her hands went numb. You're destroying him. I'm making him feel what I felt. Watching everything disappear while the person who caused it moves on with their perfect life. Nefertiti stood, smoothing her dress. And yes, I involved you. I'm sorry about that. But you needed to see who Gallagher really is. A man who chooses himself over everyone else when it matters most. Can you understand Nefertiti's need for revenge, or has she gone too far? Is Gallagher the victim, or does he deserve this? Share your honest opinion. Because what happened next would force Penelope to choose between protecting a man who'd never fully loved her or letting justice, however cruel, take its course. What do you want from me? Penelope asked. Nothing. You're collateral damage, and I regret that. But Gallagher needs to lose something real. Something that matters. His company, his reputation, his fiancé. He needs to understand what it feels like to have everything ripped away. He loved you, Penelope said quietly. He still does. Doesn't that mean anything? It means he's capable of love when it's convenient. When it's not hard. When it doesn't require sacrifice. Nefertiti's expression softened slightly. I loved him too. Completely. And he threw me away like I was nothing the moment things got difficult. So no, his love doesn't mean anything to me anymore. Penelope's phone exploded with calls. Gallagher, her sister, even her boss who'd seen the news. She ignored them all. The investigation will show some problems are real and some are exaggerated, Nefertiti continued. But the damage to his reputation is done. Investors will pull out. His board will demand answers he can't provide. His perfect success story crumbles, and everyone will see him for what he is. A man who built everything on a foundation of lies and abandoned responsibilities. And the meetings? The texts? The voicemails? Psychological warfare. I wanted him confused, destabilized, unable to trust his own feelings. I wanted his relationship with you to fall apart, so he'd know what it feels like to lose someone who loves you. Nefertiti met her eyes. I'm not the good guy here, Penelope. But neither is he. Penelope left the Peninsula Hotel in a daze, her phone still buzzing with Gallagher's desperate calls. The man she'd planned to marry had abandoned someone in their darkest moment. The woman destroying him had legitimate grievances. And Penelope was caught in the middle of a war she'd never asked to fight. Penelope was still sitting in her car outside the Peninsula Hotel when she saw Gallagher through the restaurant windows. He was at a table with his CFO and 2 board members, attempting damage control over lunch. His phone was face up on the table. She watched him pick it up, watched his face drain of all color, watched him stand abruptly, nearly knocking over his water glass. The Wall Street Journal article had gone live. His board members grabbed their phones simultaneously. The CFO's expression shifted from confused to horrified. One board member started making calls. The other was already reading, his face darkening with each paragraph. Gallagher looked around the restaurant wildly, and for a brief moment, his eyes found Penelope's through the window. The desperation in his expression, the silent plea for help, made her look away. By evening, his phone had been ringing nonstop. Emergency board meeting at 6 p.m. Penelope watched from their apartment as Gallagher paced, trying to prepare answers for questions he clearly didn't want to face. It's not as bad as it looks, he kept saying. The article is exaggerated. I can explain everything. But his hands were shaking too hard to tie his tie properly. Penelope did it for him, muscle memory from dozens of important meetings and events. Her fingers worked automatically while her mind tried to process everything Nefertiti had revealed. Thank you, he whispered. She didn't respond. The board meeting lasted 3 hours. Gallagher came home at 9:47 p.m. looking like he'd aged a decade. They want my resignation, he said, collapsing onto the couch. effective immediately. The investors are threatening lawsuits. They're talking about criminal investigations into financial misrepresentation. Did you do it? Penelope asked. What the article says. Did you hide problems from your board? Misrepresent projections? It's more complicated than. Yes or no, Gallagher. His silence was answer enough. The wedding venue called Tuesday morning. Penelope answered while Gallagher was in the shower, his fourth since coming home, like he was trying to wash away the catastrophe. Hi, this is Jennifer from the Rookery building. I'm calling about your March wedding. Given the recent news, we wanted to check if you'd like to discuss your deposit and cancellation options. The casual assumption that their relationship was over, from a stranger who'd never met them, hit harder than Penelope expected. We'll let you know, she managed, hanging up before Jennifer could offer sympathetic platitudes. Penelope found herself driving to Nefertiti's West Loop Gallery that afternoon. The space was stunning. White walls, soaring ceilings, carefully curated contemporary pieces. Nefertiti was in her office, reviewing inventory catalogs. I wondered if you'd come back, she said, not looking up. Please, Penelope said. Stop this. You've made your point. He's losing everything. His company, his reputation, his career. Good. This is destroying him. Finally, Nefertiti closed her catalog, meeting Penelope's eyes. Finally, he understands what it feels like. But some of those allegations aren't true, right? You exaggerated things, planted false evidence. Actually, no. Nefertiti opened a desk drawer, pulling out a thick folder. That's what makes this so perfect. I didn't fabricate anything. I just helped the truth surface. She slid the folder across her desk. Look for yourself. Penelope's hands trembled as she opened it. Bank statements showing undisclosed financial transfers. Email chains where Gallagher instructed his CFO to massage the numbers for investor presentations. Board meeting minutes proving he'd hidden major technical problems with Connectech's platform. Risk assessments he'd never shared with his board. These are all real. Penelope whispered. Every document authenticated by forensic accountants. Your fiancé has been lying to everyone for months. Maybe years. Not just about his past, about his present. About his company's stability, his financial practices, his integrity. Nefertiti's expression was almost pitying. He lied to you too, Penelope. About more than just me. Why are you showing me this? Because you deserve to know who you were about to marry. A man who lies when it's convenient. Who covers his mistakes instead of fixing them. Who sacrifices other people to protect himself. Nefertiti stood, walking to her window, overlooking the Chicago skyline. I'm not the villain here. I'm just the only one forcing accountability. Penelope stared at the evidence. Undeniable proof that Gallagher had been deceiving his board, his investors, and her. The man she'd thought she knew was a carefully constructed fiction. Some of the investigation's conclusions are exaggerated, Nefertiti admitted. But the core facts, those are real. Gallagher built his success on lies, just like he built your relationship on omissions and half-truths. You're still destroying him. He destroyed himself. I just lit the match. Nefertiti turned back to face her. And honestly, you should be thanking me. Because 5 years from now, when his house of cards collapsed anyway, you'd be legally tied to his disasters. His debts. His failures. I'm saving you from that. Penelope returned to their Lincoln Park apartment in a fog. She'd left that morning thinking she was engaged to a flawed, but fundamentally good man who'd made a terrible mistake 5 years ago. She was coming home to a stranger who'd been lying about everything. Gallagher was in their bedroom, packing a suitcase. His movements were jerky, panicked, throwing clothes in without folding them. What are you doing? Penelope asked from the doorway. He jumped, dropping a shirt. I didn't hear you come in. What are you doing, Gallagher? I need to go away for a few days. He couldn't meet her eyes. Clear my head. Figure out what to do. The lawyers said it might be better if I'm not in Chicago while they sort through the investigation. The lawyers said that. Or you decided it? Does it matter? His voice cracked. Everything's falling apart, Penelope. The company, my reputation, the lawsuits. I can't think straight here. She watched him pack, noting the guilty set of his shoulders, the way his hands shook, the permanent bag that definitely held more than a few days' worth of clothes. You're running, she said quietly. I'm protecting what's left. You're running. From the investigation, from the consequences, from me. What would you say to Gallagher right now if you were Penelope? Sometimes people need to hear the hard truth. Drop what you'd tell him in the comments. Because what Penelope was about to discover would make running seem like Gallagher's most honest choice in months. "I'm not running from you," Gallagher insisted, but he still wouldn't look at her. "Then where are you going?" "A friend's place. Somewhere quiet where I can think without." "Which friend?" The pause before his answer told her everything. "Just someone who understands what I'm going through." Penelope's phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. A photo attached. Her hands went numb as the image loaded. Gallagher and Nefertiti, at a bar on the north side. Taken 3 hours ago, while Penelope had been at the gallery pleading for mercy. His hand covering Nefertiti's on the table between them. Both of them leaning close, intimate, their expressions suggesting comfort, understanding, connection. The timestamp proved Gallagher had been with Nefertiti before coming home to pack, before claiming he needed to clear his head. "You're going to her," Penelope heard herself say, her voice eerily calm. "All of this, the investigation, the chaos, losing everything, and you're going to her." Gallagher froze, his back to her. "Penelope, don't." She held up the phone, showing him the photo. "Don't lie anymore. I can't take any more lies." He finally turned, and the guilt on his face confirmed everything. "It's not what you think." "Then what is it?" "She's the only one who understands what happened 5 years ago. The only one who knows who I really." "Get out," Penelope said. "What?" "Get out. Pack your bag. Go to her. Do whatever you're going to do. But get out of my sight." Gallagher grabbed his suitcase and left without another word. And Penelope stood alone in their apartment, surrounded by wedding planning magazines and the wreckage of a relationship built on lies, realizing she'd never really known the man she'd planned to marry at all. Penelope stood in the empty apartment, Gallagher's footsteps still echoing in the stairwell. The silence was suffocating. Wedding magazines sat stacked on the coffee table, venues they'd never use, dresses she'd never wear, a future that had evaporated the moment a woman in a navy gown walked into the Drake Hotel ballroom. She moved through the rooms like a ghost, cataloging the life they'd built. Photos from Starved Rock, the coffee maker they'd bought together at Williams-Sonoma, his Northwestern hoodie draped over her reading chair. 2 years of blended lives that would now need to be surgically separated. Her phone buzzed again. The same unknown number. Another photo loaded. This one was different. Clearer. Closer. Gallagher and Nefertiti in what looked like the same north side bar, but from a different angle. A second shot showing them leaving together, his hand on the small of her back. A timestamp, 5:47 p.m. Penelope checked the time Gallagher had arrived home to pack. 7:15 p.m. He'd been with Nefertiti just 90 minutes before coming home to pretend he was making a difficult decision, before packing his bag and claiming he needed to figure out his feelings, before the performance of a man torn between two women. But he'd already chosen. The meeting at the bar proved it. He'd gone to Nefertiti first, for comfort, for understanding, for whatever he'd always wanted from her, and only come home afterward to collect his things and deliver the blow. Everything had been theater. The hesitation, the guilt, the conflicted expression. He'd already decided, and Penelope had been too desperate to see it. She was crying now, ugly sobbing tears that she'd held back for weeks. Not for the relationship. She could see now how fundamentally broken it had always been, but for the version of herself who'd believed in it, who'd ignored red flags and dismissed gut feelings and convinced herself that love was enough. Her phone buzzed with a third message. "There's more you need to know. Meet me tomorrow. This isn't over." Penelope stared at the text, her exhausted brain trying to process what else could possibly remain hidden. Who was sending these photos? Someone who'd been following Gallagher? Following her? An ally or another enemy? The number was Chicago-based but blocked. Could be Nefertiti, could be Sarah Chun the investigator, could be someone else entirely who'd been watching this disaster unfold. She typed back, "Who is this?" 3 dots appeared, pulsing, then stopped. No response. Penelope threw her phone on the couch and walked to their bedroom. Her bedroom now. The closet was half empty where Gallagher had grabbed clothes. His nightstand drawer stood open, showing the empty space where he'd kept the watch Nefertiti returned. He'd taken that too. She pulled the engagement ring off her finger, studying it in the lamplight. Beautiful. Perfectly chosen. A promise that had meant nothing. The ring went into its original box, which went into the drawer. Maybe she'd return it. Maybe she'd pawn it. Maybe she'd throw it in the Chicago River. Right now, she couldn't bring herself to care. Her phone buzzed again. Noon tomorrow. Intelligentsia on Randolph. Come alone. Penelope's first instinct was to ignore it. She'd had enough revelations, enough devastation, enough truth for a lifetime. What else could possibly matter now? But the message's finality, "This isn't over," suggested something bigger than a cheating fiancé and a revenge plot. Something that hadn't been revealed yet. She thought about Gallagher's face at the gala when he'd first seen Nefertiti. The fear beneath the longing. The way he'd said she did when Penelope mentioned London, like he couldn't quite believe she was real. She thought about Nefertiti's calm explanation at the Peninsula Hotel. "I'm not trying to win him back. I'm trying to destroy his happiness the way he destroyed mine." She thought about the investigators' reports showing 5 years of planning, 18 months of tracking, 6 months of building a case. And she realized she'd only seen part of the story. The public part. The surface truth designed to destroy Gallagher's reputation and career. But what if there was more underneath? What if the real revenge was something Penelope hadn't seen yet? Her sister called, and then her mother, and then 3 friends who'd seen the Wall Street Journal article. Penelope sent everyone to voicemail. She couldn't explain what she didn't understand herself. Around midnight, she opened Instagram one more time. Nefertiti's account, public and perfect, the curated life of a woman who'd rebuilt herself from ashes. But scrolling back through years of posts, Penelope noticed something. No relationships. No romance. No hint of anyone significant in Nefertiti's life since London. 5 years of success and travel and gallery openings, all accomplished alone. 5 years of building a life while never fully moving on from the man who'd abandoned her. The revenge had taken half a decade to execute. What kind of pain required that much patience? That much careful planning? That much sacrifice of potential happiness just to destroy someone else's? Penelope fell asleep on the couch, still dressed, the photo of Gallagher and Nefertiti glowing on her phone screen. Morning came too quickly. She showered, changed, and tried to look like someone whose entire life hadn't imploded in 2 weeks. The face in the mirror looked hollow, unfamiliar. At 11:47 a.m., Penelope walked into Intelligentsia Coffee on Randolph Street. The cafe was busy with lunch crowds, everyone absorbed in their own lives and problems, none of them knowing the woman ordering an Americano was waiting to learn what final secret remained. She chose a table near the window and waited. At exactly noon, someone sat down across from her. Not Nefertiti, not Sarah Chun, not anyone Penelope had expected. The woman was in her early 50s, professionally dressed, with kind eyes and an expression that suggested she'd been carrying a heavy burden. "Thank you for coming," the woman said. "My name is Margaret." Penelope's heart stopped. Margaret? As in Gallagher's mother Margaret? No. The woman pulled out her phone, showing Penelope a photo of a young Nefertiti, maybe 19 or 20, smiling beside an older woman who looked strikingly similar. "I'm Nefertiti's mother. And there's something about your fiancé that my daughter didn't tell you. This story isn't over. Penelope's about to discover something that changes everything, but part 2 only happens if you want it. If you need to know what that message reveals, and whether Penelope gets her revenge or her closure, comment part 2 right now. Also, if you've made it this far without subscribing, what are you waiting for? Hit that subscribe button and the like button. You've invested an hour in this story. Invest 2 more seconds in making sure you don't miss what happens next. Comment part 2 if you need the conclusion. The photo on Penelope's phone, Gallagher and Nefertiti at that bar, his hand covering hers, suddenly looked different. Not like reconciliation or even revenge. It looked like manipulation. And Nefertiti's mother was about to reveal why.